Hello, welcome to my channel A Book Forest. My name is Kim and today I'm going to be talking about my project, my Author of the Year project that I'm going to be doing for 2025. I've done this project for 2024. I wanted to finish the Cosmere before the publication of Wind and Truth, and I mostly succeeded. So I was really pleased with the results of my project. I enjoyed it very much, so I'm gonna do it again. My criteria to select my author of the year is mostly someone who has published a lot, who has a big output that I have not read much of or at all. At least one or two books, so I know that I might like the rest of his works, but I'm looking for authors that have published a lot over the years in either different series, trilogies, or like for the Cosmere was one world but different series, so that was okay. So ideally someone like that. So I had a few contenders. I've tried a couple of books, like one book or a couple of books from those people I was thinking about, and I think the one that I chose actually was not on my list initially. It just came out of I'm like, well, of course, why didn't I think of it? So I fell in love with the Fionavar Tapestry by Guy Gavriel Kay. And I've read another work from him like 25 years ago and I loved it. So that was an easy choice. Like I read one of his first books 25 years ago, and I should have been reading him all along. I just don't know why I never picked him back up again until this mystery. So the Fionavar Tapestry, I didn't expect to like as much as I did. So this is why he's my choice, because I've read one of his other works and I loved it, and everyone kind of agrees that this is not his best work. So it can only go up from here. I'm really excited. So the first work, I'm going to try to go chronologically, like in publication order, with a couple of exceptions. So my first work in January, I'm going to be reading Tigana. This was published after the Fionavar Tapestry. And most of his other works, because Fionavar it's like a portal fantasy, but classic fantasy, with, sort of elves and dwarves and orcs, things like that. But I think the rest of his output is more kind of historical fiction-y. Not necessarily set in real world, but inspired by history. So this is inspired by Renaissance Italy, I think, and Tigana, I think, is a city. So everyone kind of agrees it's really good, so I'm really excited to start with this one. Then I am going to skip to The Lions of Aurusson, which is another very popular work of his, and I think it's inspired by medieval Spain during the times when they were fighting the Muslims, or even living peacefully with them at some times. This is a time of history that I'm interested in, so I think that was inspired there. And maybe Rodrigo El Cid, I don't know. It's a very famous French play that I've read by Racine, and it's very interesting story. It's like the warrior who pushed back the Muslims and booted them out, basically, of Spain at that time, because Catholics and Muslims, one had to win over the other, I suppose. Then you have I'm gonna skip over one of the ones he wrote at that time, and I'll explain why later. And in March I'm gonna be reading Sailing to Sarantium. It's the first book in a duology, and I've owned this copy for a shocking long time. That's why I can't believe I haven't read any Kay ever since. I think I read the first book by him in '96, And then I never picked him up again until today. And I owned this copy since 1998. So it's ridiculous. It's been on my shelves all that time, and I held on to it. It's in good condition, so I'm kind of glad of that. So yeah, Seventh Sarantium I think is inspired by Constantinople, modern day Istanbul, which is a place I would like to go to. And then the next book in this duology I'll read in April, Lord of Emperors. It's massive. It's super heavy. And this is also a very popular duology, so I'm quite excited to read this for sure. I wanted to fit them in 1 month because I only had like enough months to. There was one extra book, but those two are too big, so I chose another one instead. So then in May I'm gonna read Isabel. This is loosely attached to the Fionavar Tapestry, I've heard, but in the same world, but I don't know that there's any characters that I know that will be in there. It's, I think, more contemporary than his other works, and it's set in the south of France, in Aix-en-Provence, beautiful place. I don't know what it's about, so I think it's about myth and history. I don't know. We'll see. It's a nice cover. I love the leaves. It's like it's her hair. And then in June, I'm gonna be reading his new publication that he's publishing this year. It's called Written on the Dark. I don't know exactly what his inspiration was for it, or if he's doing something completely different. I've pre-ordered it, so we'll see. I'm excited. I think there's lots of Guy Gavriel Kay fans who are really looking forward to this. Then in July, that's where I'm gonna read 2 of his works in the same month. It's gonna be Under Heaven, and then I think that's a sequel, loosely a sequel. It's River of Stars. I think it's set in China, or actual China, or a world inspired by China. I'm not sure. But yeah, Asian inspired for sure. And then in August, I'm going to be reading The Last Light of the Sun. This is inspired or set in Scandinavia, Vikings. Yeah, I kind of like that time period as well. Who doesn't? And then in September, I'm going to be rereading, because I've read this already, A Song for Arbonne. I've read that in 96, as I said. Quite a while ago. Some of you might not have been born. But yeah, so A Song for Arbonne is inspired by medieval France and the times of the troubadours, the poets, singers, l'amour courtois. It's really a time period that I enjoy. And it's not in the real France, it's a different world, but it's definitely inspired by that. And it was very, very good. I mean, amazing book. So I can't wait. Shockingly, I haven't forgotten most. Like, I remember most of it. So it probably is going to be one of my easiest reads, but I pushed it back because it's one of his first books published at the beginning. But I pushed it back because I wanted to read it at the beginning of September, because that's when I read it the last time, and it was during the harvest season for grapes, for the vendange, and it fits so well with the setting of this book. I just can't help myself. I want to recreate the actual vibe of my first reading of this book. And then October to December, it's 3 books that are kind of loosely linked together, I think, in the same world. I'm gonna do them in publication order because I don't know which other order I could do. It's gonna be Children of Earth and Sky. I don't know when it, like maybe Middle East, I don't know exactly. It's inspired by because it does mention Caliph, so I don't know. So yeah, that is this one, and then I think it's in the past of that world, and then this is more in the future of the world. A Brightness Long Ago, one of his most well-rated books. So I have no idea what it's all about. I think the cover is not one of my favorites. Like, of all these covers, I think this one is the least evocative for me. But we'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind when I read it. Maybe it has a reference to something in it. And last but not least, in December, I'm going to finish with All the Seas of the World. So, yeah. So wish me luck. But I was able to read all the Cosmere this year, so probably I'll be able to read all of these books in 2025. Hopefully I'll be able to do reviews of them as well. That's my one regret for my Cosmere project, because I don't have that much time, so I could not review all of them, or I was not able, like, some of those books are huge and very complex, and I felt like I couldn't do them justice, but I'm working on reviews for those. I don't know if it's going to be just written reviews or video reviews, but for sure, like, I'm definitely going to try to do reviews for the ones I like the best in the Guy Gavriel Kay output. So wish me luck, and if you want to join along or read a couple of them with me, that'd be great. So see you next time.